In the summer of 1936, before the sun had cleared the top of the corn, my grandmother Della was already moving through the farmhouse on County Road 6 outside Tipton, Indiana, pulling the heavy curtains shut across every window that faced the south and the west. She did that every single morning of that July, the hottest month anybody in that county had ever lived through, and she did it while the whole house was still cool from the night. That was how Della cooled the whole house for pennies, the way people did it before air conditioning existed. This next part took me the longest to understand, and I am only going to say it once. You do not cool a house by adding cold to it. You cool a house by refusing to let the heat in. A machine makes cold and fights the summer all day long, and you pay it by the month for the privilege. Della never fought the summer. She just would not let it through the door. And every single thing she did came down to that one idea. The appliance industry has spent 70 years teaching you the opposite. They will tell you comfort is a box you buy and a bill you pay every month for the rest of your life, and that anything older than that is just roughing it. Della would have laughed at them. So before I show you her 3 tricks, do this old woman a kindness and hit that subscribe button, because this is the plain sense the power company would rather you forget. There were 3 things she did, and I am going to give you all 3. The first thing was those curtains, and it is the trick most people get exactly backwards. A window is the thinnest wall in your whole house. Everywhere else you have got studs and insulation and siding, but at the window you have got a 1/4 inch of glass between you and the sun, and glass does almost nothing to stop heat. On a bright afternoon, the sun comes straight through that pane and lands on your floor and your furniture and the far wall, and every surface it touches turns into a little radiator, warming the room from the inside all day. You can run your machine as cold as you like, but you are pouring cold into a room the sun is filling with heat faster than you can chase it. That is a fight you lose every afternoon of the summer. Della did not fight it. She closed the curtains before the sun ever got its hands on the glass. She followed the sun around the house like it was a chore, because it was one. Early, when the light came up hot on the east side, she shut the east windows and left the west ones open for whatever cool was left in the air. Then by midday, as the sun swung around and started leaning on the south and the west, where the summer sun sits longest and lowest and meanest, she pulled every curtain on that side and left them drawn straight through the worst of the afternoon. The house stayed dim, and it stayed cool, and the hard light stayed outside where it belonged. Here is the number I promised you, an honest one. The United States Department of Energy studied ordinary window coverings, plain curtains like the ones you already own, and they found that medium-coloured draperies with a plain white backing can turn away as much as 33% of the heat that would otherwise come through that glass. 1/3 of the summer sent back out the window by a piece of cloth. That is the government's own figure, not a number I dreamed up to sell you a curtain rod. And the colour matters more than folks think. A light or medium curtain with a white or pale backing throws the sunlight back out through the glass before it can ever turn into heat. A heavy dark drape does the opposite. It soaks the sun up and holds it, and then it hands that heat right back into your room by evening. So a dark curtain closed all day can quietly work against you. Della's curtains were nothing fancy. Plain, unbleached muslin, pale as skimmed milk, and behind the parlour set she had stitched a strip of flannel so they hung heavy and shut the light out clean. If you do not sew, and the Lord knows I barely do, you do not need to. Clip an old white bedsheet or a pale blanket over the rod behind the curtain you already own, on the sunny side of the house, and you have built the same second wall for the cost of nothing at all. That is the whole thing most people forget about a curtain. It is not there to be pretty. It is there to let you see out in the cool of the morning and hide from the sun in the heat of the afternoon. That July of 1936, the mercury on the back porch sat over 100 for days that ran together, and half the county gave up on their houses entirely and dragged their mattresses out to sleep in the yard. Della's front room stayed cool enough that she shelled peas in it after dinner. And the practical piece I want you to take away is this: because you do not have to dress every window in the house like a funeral parlour to get it. Cover the windows in the rooms you actually live in through the daytime, the kitchen, the front room, wherever the sun comes in hardest and you sit the longest. Let the rooms you only walk into at night look after themselves. And do the west side of the house first, always, before you touch anything else, because that long, low 4 o'clock sun coming in from the west is the hottest sun there is. Morning light is gentle, and it forgives you. The afternoon sun off the west windows is the one that bakes a room clear through and holds it warm past your bedtime. I still do this every single day of July myself, out here on the same County Road 6, and I draw the west curtains before I have even poured my first cup of coffee. By 2 in the afternoon, when the sun has come around and is leaning hard on that side of the house, my west rooms are the coolest rooms in the place, and I have not laid a finger on a thermostat. The man who bought the old Pruitt farm down the road does the exact opposite. He leaves every curtain wide open all day long because he likes the light, and then he runs a window unit in 4 separate rooms to fight the sun he just invited inside, and the appliance men were only too glad to sell him all 4 of them. He pays a bill every single month of the summer for the privilege of undoing what a curtain would have done for free. That is the appliance industry's whole trick laid bare. They found that man an easy mark and charged him, summer after summer, for the losing of a fight a single curtain would have won. A curtain is the cheapest wall you will ever hang, and it is already hanging in your house. The second thing she did every night with one hand, and it is the exact opposite of the first, which is exactly why they work together. All day long you have kept the heat out. The curtains are drawn, the house is holding the cool it had at dawn, and you have turned the sun away at every pane of glass. But a house is not a thermos. Some heat always finds a way in, through the walls, through the roof, through the door every time somebody opens it to let the dog out, and by evening the house has warmed up more than you would like. Here is the gift the summer hands you back. After the sun goes down, the air outside starts to fall, and there comes an hour, usually well after supper, when the air out on the porch is plainly cooler than the air in your bedroom. That hour is the whole reason for the first trick. You spend all day keeping the house cool enough that the night could catch up to it. So Della opened the house up. She cracked the windows, an inch or 2, and she let the cool night air walk in and push the day's stale heat out ahead of it, the way you would air out a room after a fire in the stove. Then, and this is the part people miss, she shut it all again at first light, before the sun could get started, and drew those curtains, and the house spent the whole hot day living on the cool it had drunk in overnight. Seal it by day, flush it by night, seal it again at dawn. That is the entire rhythm, and there is not a penny in it anywhere. She was particular about the sleeping rooms, and she had good reason. She always said a shut-up bedroom makes a body sick and restless, and she was righter than she knew. Back in 1869, 2 sisters, Catherine Beecher and Harriet Beecher Stowe, and Harriet is the one who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, put out a book called American Woman's Home, And in that book, they wrote that tight sleeping rooms and close, airtight stoves were, in their words, starving and poisoning more than 1/2 of this nation. 150 years ago, they already knew a sealed room is a stale room. So Della never once slept in a shut box in July. She cracked the sash and let the night move through it. The one thing you have to get right is the hour, and it is easier than working a thermostat. After supper, step out onto the porch and lay the back of your hand against the evening air. Then step back inside your own front door and feel the difference between them. The minute the outside feels plainly cooler than the inside, that is your hour. And it is usually later than you would guess, well after the sky has gone dark and the yard has let go of the day. Open the house too early, while the heat is still standing out in the grass, and all you have done is let warm air in to trade for warm air. So you wait for the turn. Della could feel that turn coming without a thought, the way an old farmer feels rain, and the moment the porch went cool, she was at the windows, and the whole house would draw one long breath and settle. If you want to do it exactly right once that hour comes, here is how. Open one window low on the cool side of the house, the side the evening breeze is not beating against, and open a second one high on the far side of the house. The cool air comes in low where it is heaviest, and it pushes the warm, stale air up and out the high window, and the whole house draws one slow breath through the middle of it while you sleep. If there is a real wind that night, crack the window on the side away from it, so the air pulls through gentle instead of banging the sashes till morning. In the bedroom itself, an inch is plenty. I keep a little wood shim on my own windowsill, cut to exactly 1 inch, so the sash holds itself open with no rattle, and I have slept under a cracked window every summer night of my life. Lay a light quilt at the foot of the bed for the hour before dawn, when the night is at its very coldest, and it will honestly surprise you, and you will sleep the way people slept before a machine did their breathing for them. And that is the whole idea of the night flush, standing right in front of you in the dark. The night is doing the cooling, not you, and not any machine. All you did was open the door at the 1 hour the world outside gives its cool away for free, take every bit of it the house could hold, and shut the door again before the sun could charge you for it. The power company would far rather you keep every window sealed tight and run the whole house cold from a box all night long, with the meter spinning away in the dark while you sleep. Della's open window did the very same work for the price of 1 inch of night air. The third thing was the one that saved her the most money, and it was not even in the part of the house you live in. It was under it. Go down into most any basement in the summer, and you will notice something the second your foot leaves the last stair. It is cool down there. Not cold, but cool. A steady cool that does not change no matter how the day rages up above it. And there is a reason for that. A few feet down, the earth itself holds one steady temperature all the way through the hot months. And any room dug into that earth holds it too. The old farmhouses did not fight this fact. They used it. The coolest room in Della's whole house in August was the cellar, and she did 2 jobs with it. On the meanest afternoons, she would carry her mending or her shelling down there and sit in the cool of the ground for an hour. And she kept the family's food down there the whole year, without one wire of electricity running to it. Do not overlook that first job, the one that has nothing to do with a single carrot. On the 3 or 4 truly wicked afternoons of any summer, the days when the front room finally gives up no matter how tight you drew the curtains. The cellar is the one place in the whole house the heat simply cannot reach, because the earth will not hand it over. Della kept an old chair and a lamp down there for exactly that reason. An hour in the cool of the ground in the belly of a heat wave does something for a tired body that no fan on earth can do. And it does it in dead silence. And it does it for nothing. There were afternoons in that farmhouse where the coolest, quietest, most blessed room in the county was the one with dirt walls. And this is what most people have flat forgotten. Della never wasted a potato. Not one, ever. And today the average household throws out close to a third of the food it drags home from the store, mostly because nothing in a hot kitchen keeps long enough. Della's cellar kept everything, and it cost exactly what the earth cost, which was nothing. There is a Canadian government bulletin from about 1923, a plain little thing called a practical farm root cellar, and it lays out the number cold. The best temperature for storing vegetables, it says, is between 35 and 40 degrees, and that is exactly the range a good cold corner holds on its own, held there by nothing but the patient earth pressed up against the walls. You do not need a farm to do this, and you do not need to dig anything. You need a cool corner and a wooden crate. Find the coldest corner of your basement, which is nearly always the northeast one, down against an outside wall where the summer sun never once lands. Set your apples and your carrots and your potatoes and your turnips and a good firm head of cabbage into bins there, and pack the roots in slightly damp sand or crumpled newspaper to hold a little moisture around them. That packing is not fussiness, and I want you to understand why it works, because it is the difference between success and a bin of ruin. A root left dry in the open air breathes its water out and shrivels to a rubbery bitter thing inside a month. Bedded down in a little damp sand, that same carrot stays as firm and sweet as the day you pulled it, clear into the spring. Lay a $5 refrigerator thermometer on the shelf and look at it. You are aiming for that same 35 to 40 degrees, and if it creeps above 40, crack a small vent or a low window and let the cold night air in until it settles back down. There are two more things Della knew that will save you a bushel of grief. Keep your apples away from your potatoes, because an apple breathes out a gas as it sits. Ethylene it is called, and that gas will make a potato right next to it sprout weeks before its time. And keep your onions off by themselves entirely, away from all of it. Walk down every 2 or 3 weeks and lay your hands on the whole store, and the moment you find one soft potato or one going to sprout, pull it, because one rotting vegetable will take its neighbours down with it faster than you would believe. When the cold outside drops down toward freezing, I plug my cellar vents with a folded feed sack, the same way Della stuffed hers with a scrap of burlap, so the store stays cool like a good root and never freezes hard like a stone. And this is where I will name the villain one more time, hard, because this is where they got greediest. The appliance store will happily sell you a whole second refrigerator to keep out in the garage, and a fresh line on your power bill to run it, every month, forever. Della's second refrigerator was the ground under her own house. It ran on nothing. It kept her family fed straight through to February, and in 90 years of holding a steady 35 degrees, it never once sent her a bill. The title of this said pennies, and I owe you an honest reckoning of that word, because I will not tell you a thing that is not true. Let me add it up plain. The curtains you already own. The white backing that does the real work is an old bed sheet you have in a drawer, or a few dollars of muslin if you are fussy about it. The night flush costs nothing, not 1 cent, only the discipline to open the house at 10 and shut it at 6. The cellar is a wooden crate and a $5 thermometer laid on a shelf in a corner you are already paying the mortgage on. So pennies is the honest word for it, and free is close enough to true that I am comfortable saying it out loud. What I will not do is hand you one of those numbers you see all over the internet. $3 saves you $3,000 this summer. I do not know your house. I do not know your climate, or how old your windows are, or what the sun does to your particular roof. Anybody who promises you an exact dollar figure for your house, sight unseen, is not being straight with you, and I would rather keep the one real number I have got. 1/3 of the summer heat, turned away at the glass, on the government's own word. And I will tell you the honest limit too, because you deserve it. This will not turn a 105-degree afternoon in a brick house into October. It will not manufacture cold, because nothing here does. What it will do is refuse the heat all day and drink up the cool all night. And in most houses in most of this country, that is the difference between a bearable summer and a miserable one, for the price of remembering to pull a curtain. That is the whole quarrel I have with the appliance industry, when you boil it down. Comfort was already sitting in your windows and under your floor and out in the night air, free for the taking, the way it was for Della in the summer of 1936, when there was no machine to buy and a family stayed cool anyway. All the industry ever added was a way to rent that comfort back to you by the month, and a story that the free version was poverty. Della owned her comfort outright. The heavy curtains still hang in that farmhouse, and the ground under it is still 35 degrees. So this one is for the folks who cannot run the machine all summer, or will not, or lose the power the first hot week of July, when the whole county turns theirs on at once. It is for anybody who ever stood in front of an open refrigerator just to feel the cool, and thought there had to be an older way. There is. It hangs in your windows, it lives in your night air, and it waits in the cold corner of your basement. And it was keeping whole families alive through worse summers than yours, long before the first salesman ever knocked. I have told you how my grandmother did it. Now I want to hear how yours did. How did your family stay cool before AC? Tell me down in the comments the one trick that actually worked in your house, the real one, the one nobody had to pay a bill for. This is Granny Pearl, and I will leave the porch light on for you.